This is a follow-up for the other video. What we're going to do is we're going to keep solving equations using the steps that I told you last time, which is getting rid of fractions, then getting rid of parentheses, additions, subtractions, and then multiplications, divisions. Then at the very end, you can get rid of exponents as well. So let's take the following example. 5d plus 3 equals 3d plus 15. And we're trying to solve for the variable d. So let's follow the rules. The first thing that we get rid of is fractions, which we don't have any fractions. We don't have to combine like terms on both sides. We cannot combine anything. So 5d and 3, those are different terms. 3d and 15, they are not like terms. So we cannot combine those. Now we get rid of parentheses, which we don't have. And then addition, subtractions. I do have additions and subtractions. So I have to add and subtract to both sides of this equation until I don't have any more addition subtractions, which means I have to send all the letters to one side and all the numbers by themselves to the other side. So there's no absolutely there's not exactly one answer to this or one set of steps, but we can start by sending the letters or the numbers to one side. So I'm going to choose to send the letters to the left side. If you choose to send the letters to the right side, that's going to be perfectly fine. You just have to make a choice, okay? So I'm going to send the letters to the left side. How do I send a 3D that is a positive 3D, that's a positive 3D, to the other side of the equation? Well, we use the addition property of equations, which says I can add or subtract whatever I want as long as I do it to both sides of the equation. So what I'm going to do to send that letter to the left side is going to be a subtraction of 3D. So 3D minus 3D, that's going to cancel out the 3Ds on the right side of the equation. But if I subtract on the right side, I also have to subtract the exact same operation in the left side. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine like terms at this point. So on the left side of the equation, I can combine 5D and negative 3D. So 5D minus 3D, that should leave me 2D. Then I also have a positive 3 on the left side. On the right side, can you see that this 3D and this negative 3D, they cancel out? So this is the whole point of me subtracting 3D from both sides, so they cancel out. So 3D and negative 3D, they cancel out, and all I have left is a positive 15. So at this point, I have to evaluate again, right? I have to look at all my terms. Do I still have any addition subtractions as in step 3? Can I still do any addition subtractions? And the answer is yes, I still have the subtraction over here. So I have a plus 3. I have to get rid of this plus 3. We're still in step 3, right? So how do I get rid of a positive 3? With the opposite operation, which is a negative 3 or subtracting 3. And if I do that to the left side, I have to do that to the right side of the equation. So now I'm going to follow into combining like terms, right? 2D, nothing happens to the 2D. Now the 3D, the 3 and the negative 3, those are going to cancel out because 3 minus 3, or positive 3 minus 3, that's going to be 0. So they cancel out. Those two cancel out. On the other side of the equal sign, I also have to combine like terms. I have to combine those two numbers. So 15 minus 3, that should be 12. And then at this point, can you see I don't have any more addition subtractions? I don't have any more addition subtractions. I just have one term on the left and one term on the right. So this is where we're going to move to multiplications and divisions, because I can see that I have a multiplication of 2 times the variable that I'm trying to solve for. So it's 2d is 2 times z. Now I'm going to use the opposite operation for multiplication, which is a division. Now I'm going to divide by whatever I want to get rid of. You don't divide by the whole 2d because then that's going to make the variable go to the other side. You just divide by the coefficient, the big number. So that's a 2d. So you divide by 2, but if you do that to the left side, you have to do that same thing to the right side of the equation. So at this point, those 2's cancel out through division. 2 divided by 2 is 1. They cancel out through division. The only thing that I have left in the left side is d equals, and then I can do the division 12 divided by 2, which is going to be 6. So it looks like this is going to be my solution for this equation. And how do I know this is the solution for the equation? Well, I'm going to write my original equation over here. 5d plus 3 equals 3d plus 15. And I am going to replace every d that I have on my equation for number 6 and see if the left side equals the right side. So I'm replacing the d for a 6, and I'm also going to do the same thing on the right side. And those two sides, they have to equal each other's. So on the left side, I have 5 times 6, that's 30, plus 3. And on the right side, I have 3 times 6, it's 18, plus 15. And if I add those two sides, you're going to see that I'm going to have the same result. So this means that the solution for this equation is going to be d equals 6. That is my solution for the equation. Okay, I'm going to take my rules from here. I'm going to make a small copy of this. Let's try another different example. I'm going to use the same rules. The next example, that's also going to be an equation. This is increasing in difficulty. So every single time is getting more difficult and difficult. So the next equation is going to be 2 open parentheses 3a minus 4 close parentheses plus 1 equals 5. So let's see if we can solve for our variable, which in this case is letter a. We're trying to solve for this variable. If we follow the rules that I just gave you, the first thing that you have to get rid of is going to be fractions, which we don't have any fractions. So we don't get rid of fractions, there's not any. Now I have to get rid of parentheses, which I have. I do have. So if you have a lot of numbers inside the parentheses, you can combine those because they're like terms. If you have terms that have letters and terms that don't have a letter, you're not going to be able to combine those. So the way that I'm going to get rid of this parenthesis is using what we call distributive property, which is multiply whatever's in front of the parentheses times every single term that is inside of the parentheses. So this is how we're going to get rid of the parentheses. So the first thing is going to be 2 times 3a. So 2 times 3a, that's going to be 6a. And the next multiplication is 2 times the second term, which is negative 4. So 2 times, second term is 2 times negative 4. That's going to be negative 8. And then everything else in the equation is going to remain the exact same. So this is the first thing that you have to do, get rid of the parentheses using this derivative property. And now at this point, since I get rid of the parentheses, I might be able to combine like terms. I might be able to combine like terms, so I have to inspect on both sides of the equation without moving anything from one side to another. Just trying to combine like terms, see if I can simplify this expression. And by the looks, I know I can combine negative 8 and positive 1. So those two I can combine. I'm going to combine them into the same term. So 6a, the negative 8 plus 1, that's going to be negative 7. And the right side of the equation remains the same. Now at this point, I got rid of the parentheses. I combine like terms. The next thing that I have to do is add and subtract until there's no more additions and subtractions on both sides of my equation. So at this point, I see that I have a negative 7 on the left side, or a minus 7 as subtraction. So I have to get rid of that negative 7. I have to use the opposite operation. So the opposite operation of negative 7 is going to be positive 7, or plus 7. Now, if I add 7 to the left side of the equation, I also have to add 7 to the right side of the equation. Okay, so the 7s are going to cancel out in the left. I'm combining like terms. So the only thing that I have left is 6a equals, and now I can combine these two like terms, which is 5 plus 7. I'm going to go ahead and combine those. 12. At this point, can you see I don't have any more additions and subtractions? So it means that I can move to the next step, which is going to be multiplications and divisions. So this is the next thing that I'm going to get rid of. I see that right next to the a, I have a multiplying 6. So this 6, I have to get rid of it using the opposite operation, which is a division. If it's multiplying, then you divide. So you divide by 6 the left side, you also have to divide by 6 the right side of the equation. So this is going to cancel out the 6's on the left side, I'm going to have a equals, and on the right side, you can just do that division. So 12 divided by 6, that is 2. So this is the next example that I'm showing you right now. I'm going to show you 2 more examples on the same video. Examples, they are increasing in difficulty. So make sure that you are following up. Let me just copy my rules again. I'll try to copy the rules that I have here. One more example. So the next example that I'm going to show you is going to be 5y minus 1 divided by 7 equals 7y plus 3 divided by 12. And I have to solve for my variable, which in this case is the letter y. Now we are introducing fractions on this example. So we will have to get rid of the fractions, and I'm going to show you how to get rid of these fractions. Okay. So the first step, as the question says, as the step said, I have to get rid of the fractions. Now I have 2 fractions on this equation, one on the left side and one on the right side. So the first thing that I have to do is I have to find the least common denominator. So I'm going to find the least common denominator of all of the fractions that I have. So least common denominator between 7 and 12. The smallest number that can be divided by 7 and can be divided by 12. So we are looking for the number that goes inside the house, right? What's the smallest number that can be placed inside that little house? Okay, so the least common denominator, we can use several methods or different methods for the least common denominator to calculate it. So the least common denominator on this case is going to be 84, or if you multiply those two numbers, 7 times 12, you're going to get 84, and this is also a denominator of those two numbers. Okay, so we have to find the least common denominator first, which is going to be 84 in this case. 84. I'm going to show you how to calculate least common denominators in another video. Okay, so 84, calculate that least common denominator. The next thing that you're going to do with this number is multiply both sides of the equation times the least common denominator. So I'm going to take the left side of the equation, which happens to be 5y minus 1 divided by 7, and multiply it times 84. And you're also going to do that to the right side of the equation. So you find the least common denominator, and then you're going to multiply both sides of the equation times that number that you just found. This is important. So this way we're going to get rid of the fractions in one step. Okay, and this is how we're going to get rid of these fractions. So once this 84 is multiplying, this becomes a fraction. The same on the right side. These two guys become a fraction. So those fractions, they can be simplified, or you can just normally divide those two numbers. Okay, so you can take 84. I'm going to write it again, right? 84 divided by 7. Then I'm going to keep whatever's inside this parenthesis. So I'm just taking this fraction, 84 over 7, and putting it as a fraction. Just it makes it a little bit simple to picture. And I'm going to do the same thing on the right side, but on this side is 84 over 12. So those are the fractions that I came up with. Okay, and then inside the parentheses, everything on the top remains. So we can simplify those fractions now, and we're not going to have any more fractions in here. So 84 divided by 7, the first fraction, that's going to be 12. And everything inside the parentheses remains. On the right side, 84 divided by 12, that's 7. And everything inside the parentheses remains. Can you see we get rid of the fractions? That was the first step. We don't have any more fractions in this equation. The next thing that we're going to get rid of is going to be the parentheses. Now we get rid of the parentheses. And I do have two parentheses. We're going to use distributive property to get rid of this. Okay, distributive property is multiplication of whatever's outside the parentheses times every term inside. So 12 times 5y, this is going to be 60y. And then 12 times -1, that's going to be -12. And on the right side of the equation, 7 times 7y, this is going to be 49y. And then 7 times 3, that's going to be 21. Okay. At this point, I don't have any more parentheses. If we recall our steps, we should be able to combine like terms on both sides. I don't have anything to combine on the left side. I don't have anything to combine on the right side. So I can move to the next step, which is going to be just get my pencil ready. The additions and subtractions. So I'm going to add and subtract to both sides until I don't have any more additions or subtractions. So at this point, I have a subtraction and I have an addition. So let's see if we can get rid of those. I'm going to send the numbers to the right side. So this -12, I'm going to try to get rid of this -12, send that to the right side. So -12, the opposite operation, that's a +12 or a +12. So I'm going to add 12 to the left side. I'm also going to add 12 to the right side. So adding 12 to both sides. If I go ahead and combine like terms, that 12 is gone. 49y, and now I can combine these two like terms or those two numbers. So 21 plus 12, that should be 33. Okay. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to send the letters to the left side. So this 49y is on the right side. This is a plus, this is a positive 49y. So I have to send this to the left side. Try to get rid of this addition. So if it's a plus, that means I'm going to send it to the left side as a minus. So minus 49y. On the right, minus 49y. On the left side. So this is going to cancel out the 49s on the right side. I can easily do the subtraction. Over here, this is going to be 11y. 60 minus 49y, that's 11y, equals, and the right side only has 33 left. Now at this point, I'm done with all of the additions and the subtractions. I don't have any more additions and subtractions. I can move to the next step, which is going to be multiplications, divisions. So let's see. Multiplications, divisions. I have a multiplying 11. I have to get rid of this, and I get rid of this through a division. So if it's a multiplying 11, it means I have to divide by 11. And if I do that to the left side, I do the same thing to the right side. Those 11s cancel out. All I have left is y equals, and 33 divided by 11, that's going to be 3. So this should be my solution. And in order to find out if this is the correct solution, I'm going to rewrite my original equation, which is 5y minus 1 divided by 7 equals 7y plus 3 divided by 12. And I have to substitute this 3 into both y's. And the left side is going to be equal to the right side. I'm not going to do the check right now. I'm going to show you a last example in here. And then you can do your checking. Okay. The next equation and the last equation that we're going to do is going to be 2r plus 3 divided by 5 plus 7 equals 3r plus 12 divided by 3. Again, my steps, the first thing is going to be the fractions. The second thing to get rid of is the parentheses. The third thing is going to be additions and subtractions. The fourth thing, multiplications and divisions. And the fifth thing, exponents. Of course, in between every one of these steps, you have to combine like terms. Combine like terms. So at this point, let's see. The first step is to get rid of all the fractions. And I have two fractions, two visible fractions. Since there's a 7 by itself, I have to convert the number into a fraction. So I'm going to put a number 1 below it. I'm going to put in another color just so that you see that I added that one. Because a 7 as a whole number is the same thing as a 7 over 1. And now I have three fractions. I can get rid of those if I find the least common denominator. So what are my denominators? Between 5, 1, and 3. The smallest number that can be divided by 5, that can be divided by 1, and that can be divided by 3. So we are looking for this number. That's the least common denominator. It's usually as large as the larger of the denominators or greater. It cannot be smaller. Okay, so the least common denominator in this case is going to be 15. 15 is that magic number that we can place inside the house, the smallest number that can be divided by 5, by 1, and by 15. By 3, excuse me. So 15 is my least common denominator. And what I'm going to do with this least common denominator is I'm going to multiply both the left side of the equation and the right side of the equation times the least common denominator that we just calculated, which is 15 in this case. So I'm multiplying both sides of the equation times 15. So for the first fraction, that's 2r plus 3 over 5 plus 7 over 1. And on the right side, that's 3r plus 12 divided by 3. So as multiplying both sides of the equation times 15, I should be able to do this without any problems. Okay, now I'm going to distribute that 15 or try to get rid of those fractions. Okay, the first fraction that you're going to get rid of is 15 divided by 5. I'm going to do that fraction already. 15 divided by 5, that's going to be 3. The result is 3. And I still have to keep the top of that fraction, this 2r plus 3. So 15 divided by 5, the result is 3. And I'm going to keep the top of the fraction. Now to get rid of the second fraction, the same thing. 15 divided by, how should I do this? 15 divided by 1. So the least common denominator divided by the original denominator. 15 divided by 1, that's going to be 15. And I have to keep the top of the fraction again, 7. So originally I kept 2r plus 3, that's the first fraction. Okay, now the second fraction, that's a 7. I'm also going to keep it in here. 15 times 7. And the same thing is going to happen on the right side of the equation. So 15 divided by 3, that's my new fraction. 15 divided by 3, that result is going to be 5. And then I'm going to multiply times whatever was in the top of that fraction. So we get rid of the 3 fractions in one step. Again, first fraction, 15 divided by 5, that's 3. And we keep the top. And then 15 divided by 1, that's 15. And we kept the top. And then the last fraction, on the other side of the equation, 15 divided by 3, that's 5. And we keep the top of the fraction. This is how we're going to get rid of those fractions using the least common denominators. Now we get rid of the fractions. The next thing to do is get rid of the parentheses. Okay, step 2. We're getting rid of the parentheses by doing distributive property. So 3 times 2r, that's going to be 6r. And then 3 times 3, that's going to be 9. So that's the first parenthesis gone. The second parenthesis, 15 times 7. We're going to do this operation over here. 15 times 7. It should be 105. Getting rid of the second parenthesis. And let's get rid of the last parenthesis in here. So 5 times 3r, that's 15r. And then 5 times 12, it's going to be 60. Now at this point, we got rid of the parentheses. The next thing is combine like terms. We have to combine like terms on both sides of the equation. We're not sending anything to the left side or the right side. We're trying to combine like terms. So on the left side, only terms that have the same variable or only numbers that are by themselves can be combined. So it's going to be 6r, and I'm going to combine those two numbers, which is 105 times 9 plus 105. This should be 114 equals 15r plus 60. Now at this point, I have to send letters to the left side and numbers to the right side. We are on step 3, getting rid of additions and subtractions. So I'm going to start with the letters. Let's start with the letters. So I'm going to send the letters to the right side this time. I'm going to send the letters to the right side. I'm going to try to get rid of the 6r on the left, try to send it to the right side. Okay, so how do I get rid of a positive 6r? with the opposite operation. Minus 6r on the left. I also have to do minus 6r on the right side. If I combine like terms, the left side, those 6r's cancel out. The only thing left is the 114. On the right side, if I combine those two r's, that's 15 minus 6. That should be 9r plus 60. And now I'm going to get rid of this 60, which is on the right side. I'm going to try to send it to the left side. So subtract 60 from the right side, subtract 60 from the left side. So I cancel out the 60s on the right side. Now I can do the subtraction on the left side. So that's should be 54. 54, yeah. So 54 equals 9r. At this point, I don't have any more additions and subtractions. So the last thing to do is get rid of the multiplication that's right next to the r. So this is a multiplying 9. I have to do the opposite operation. So what I have to do is divide. Opposite operation for multiplication, it's division of 9. We are dividing by 9. So you divide by 9 both sides. The 9's cancel out on the right side. R equals 54 divided by 9 should be 6. And this should be my final answer. Of course, if you take this number and substitute in the renal equation, the left side is going to be equal to the right side.